This week on Motor Week, we put Latin Flair head-to-head with the Alfa 147 versus Seat Leon. Richard Hammond squeezes himself into the funky VW Lupo GTi, and with our behind-the-scenes look at Formula One.
Hello and welcome to the Time Travel Show and to one of the 21st century's greatest invention, the time travel pill. Fantastic, that is, until you get hiccups. Then you don't know where you're going to end up. Shower. Still, could have been a lot worse. Oh, hang on. Hello? I can't see a thing. It's pitching. Oh, hang on. Oh, that's better. Oh, now this looks a lot more like it. I'd say it was, what about early 21st century, made by probably Renault and, excuse me. Well, it's based on the Renault Espace, as you might be able to gather, but even the interior is seriously space age. It is very funky. Oh no, hang on. Oh my, come on! Oh, this is going to be great fun. Still, we've got loads of storage space, which is handy. Oh, hang on.
Oh no, this really is not going to be funny after a while. Can we stop it now? Oh.
You know, I think I'm starting to feel a bit better. I might have them under control. Renault seem to be carefully crafting this reputation for every now and again giving us a mad car. Think of the Sport Spider, think of the Renault Clio V6, or even the original Espace was a bit mad when it was new. But this takes the biscuit. What is it? So which bright spark went to Mr. Renault and said, "Hey boss, I have a great idea, let us build a giant coupe Espace"? But what's more incredible is that Renault then said, "Yeah, nice idea, kid. Build it." And they did. Still, you've got to admit that the result has presence, serious presence. It's another of those rare instances of a concept car that somehow escaped and made it out onto the road so that you and I can drive it. Renault are hoping to appeal to, if you like, the new avant-garde customers. People who are non-conformist and not afraid to express their individuality with the car they drive. A bit like me, really. Oh, nice. Thank you. Okay, so this is not like driving anything else I've driven before. You sit quite high up, like you would in the Espace that it's based on, and then the dashboard just goes on forever. It's just the curvature of the earth at the end that means it disappears over the horizon. It's enormous. It is very big in here. There's loads of space, but that is added to by the glass. Acres and acres of the stuff. So there's a huge amount of light flying in. And of course, the glass isn't just fixed either. There's something very clever here. Because whilst it's not a full convertible, you can let the breeze in. Oh no, I think I'm about to let some breeze in. The name Avantime literally means ahead of its time, and it certainly looks futuristic. Sharp V-shaped air intake vents and lights lend a slightly aggressive, sporty feel to the front. By contrast, the rear is squat yet dynamic looking, which is accentuated by the big hemispherical rear window. Say that after a pint. The designers in fact wanted the viewer to be continually astonished as they walked around the car, with the front giving no clue to the rear and vice versa. Well, they sure took my breath away. Back in the driver's seat. Nobody's trying to kid on, not even Renault, that it's a light, nimble roadster. It's very much a grand tourer, and to that end we've got big, meaningful engines. At launch, just one choice, the 3-litre V6, which puts well over 200 brake horsepower, so that's plenty, mated to a 6-speed gearbox, manual. Eventually, though, you'll have a 2-litre turbo petrol version and an automatic gearbox option. Personally, I think the 3 litre with the automatic is going to be the best. It is a fantastic place to be in here. Renault have gone for a very uncluttered architectural, clean, clear, crisp feel. They could have made it very high-tech and gizmo. The dashboard could have lit up like an oil rig when you switch the thing on, but it doesn't. It feels like furniture in here. It's just very smart, very discreet, and absolutely unique. Oh, hang on. Oh, I think they're getting bad again. The weird thing is, though, despite being such a mad vehicle, I reckon Renault will sell as many of these as they can make. Hang on. Because despite looking balmy, the thing actually offers quite a lot of... Oh, hold on. Oh, no. Of practicality. Because... Oh, this is ridiculous. Hang on. Ah, that's better. Because it's actually very practical and it looks fantastic. Whether or not it actually will be a success for Renault, well, that lies in the future. I could tell you because I've been there, but I don't want to spoil the surprise. Oops. Oh, hang on. I can get this back. I've got a good idea. Nope. That's better. It's back. And it's on my foot. Can somebody get this thing off? Ah, Mr. Van Gogh. I wonder if you wouldn't mind knocking up a painting of me in my new car. Ah, must have frightened him.
Alfa Romeo have always been renowned for producing a stylish, passionate driver's car. They may not be as reliable as some of the opposition, but they definitely give a sportier alternative to the VWs and Fords of this world, especially if you work into a budget. Now Seat, since they've been redeveloped by VW, have become known as a reliable, better value version of a VW. But what's all this about VW saying that the Seat now are direct rivals to the Alfa Romeo? Well, we've got the bargain basement Seat 1.6 version of their Leon hatch, and we're going to directly compare it to the rather lovely Alfa Romeo 147, the 1.6 version. May the best car win. First impressions inside the Leon are that you get that same firm, reassuring ride that you'd expect from any VW. And this is because the Leon is based on the very successful VW Golf chassis. Now, reassuring, yes. Sporty, not really. You see, we know that the chassis can handle up to 200 brake horsepower because the Leon 20 valve and the Golf 4Motion handle superbly. But this is only the Leon 1.6. And to be honest, it's really quite solid. It could do with that extra power up front to make the engine really come alive. Inside the Alfa 147, it's a completely different story. The ride is firm, but the steering is much more lively and it gives it immediately a more sporty feel. Now, the engine is also much more likely to rev, and this gives it the feeling that it's got more than its 120 brake horsepower. As far as the interior of the Alfa 147 is concerned, it's one of those that you're either going to love or you're going to hate. It's definitely a lot busier than most cars. This instrument cluster here, although it's quite retro, it's really quite difficult to read compared to the more conventional layouts of, say, the Vauxhall or the Ford. As far as the standard of the materials used, they're very good, not that far behind the German rivals. Now inside the Seat, everything is much more what you would expect. The layout is really nice and clear and very easy to read, and the quality of the switchgear is really quite high. But I don't want to keep harping on about it, but you'd find lots of these bits in your Golf. Now this is just the basic 1.6 model, and to be honest, there isn't a lot to play with in here. But it does come with standard driver and passenger airbags, a pretty nifty radio cassette player, ABS brakes and central locking. And lastly, the looks. And I think that Alfa win hands down again. Not that the Seat is ugly. I mean, I think that it looks quite purposeful with its narrow little headlights and strong bonnet lines. And at the back, it looks sleek and clean. But Alfa are just doing what Alfa do best, which is looking different without looking like a multipler. And the deep front bumper is something that's going to stay with Alfa as they introduce new pedestrian safety guidelines. Now, to be fair to Seat, this Alfa 147 has made not only cars in its class, but cars twice the price look dull. So, in the 1.6 guys, Seat haven't really produced a worthy rival for the Alfa. But if it was a toss-up between your head and your heart would tell you to buy the Seat because it's cheaper than the Alfa at £11,000, it's more economical, cheaper to run, and it's going to be in better nick in 5 years' time. But your heart would tell you to spend that extra few grand and buy the more lively, more unusual and more sporty Alfa 147.
After the break, we get to grips with VW's leery Super Lupo GTi.
Rich, they said, you're going to be driving a Volkswagen Lupo. Me, I said, alone with the Lupo, the smallest car in Volkswagen's range, and a shopping cart to boot. Oh, I can barely contain myself. Yes, they said, you are, but it is the GTi. Well, that does make a bit of a difference. Before we even get to thinking of what it's like to drive, just take a gander at the thing. Everything's there, 15-inch alloys filling those flared arches to perfection. Side skirts, front and rear spoilers, chromed twin tailpipes. It may be small, but it looks hot. It's no swamp donkey on the inside either. Again, everything's here. Sport seats, leather covered, very supportive. We've got an aluminium and leather gear knob, chrome bezels around the instruments, that's chrome rings to you and me. And all, of course, finished to that usual high VW standard. It looks and feels great and will do 20 years from now. It's named after the Latin word for wolf, you know, the Lupo. The GTi's 1.6 engine delivers 125 brake horsepower at 6,500 RPM, which will power the baby VW to a none too shabby 127 miles an hour. Add this to a 0 to 60 time of 8.3 seconds, and I'm sure you'll agree, none too shabby figures. It's not all good news though, as always, because there's a rather nasty-ish surprise lurking around the corner, and that's the ride and handling. At first you think, oh, feels like a hot hatch, nice and firm, predictable and grippy, but actually it's a bit too bouncy. It's as though either the car's too light or the damping setup wrong, so it tends to bounce and rebound off bumps and float over them, rather than stick to the road properly, which is a real shame, because that engine deserves better. That said, it ain't slow, it ain't wallowy, it ain't a pig to drive, it's still going to look and feel good. It may well be that it's a small car, but it still comes with a hefty price tag at just under 13 grand. But just because it is small doesn't mean it has to be cheap. Think about Diamonds and Kylie Minogue. They're small and they're not cheap. You've got to look at its size as a positive thing. Add to that the great engine, good looks and VW build quality, and suddenly the idea of a palm-top GTi starts to have some appeal. Ever Ever since Toyota's posh brand Lexus was launched 11 years ago, they've had a bit of a hole in their range. Well, quite a big one actually. They've had nothing to go head to head with the European V8s from Mercedes and BMW. Well, now they have with this, the newly launched GS 430. On first impressions, the GS 430 hardly jumps out and says, "Oh, buy me!" The styling is typically Lexus. In other words, it's big, it's bland and about as interesting as a new chest freezer. Then again, Lexus have never really sold on their looks, have they? But as my mother used to say if I was dating an ugly girl, it's not what's on the outside that matters, it's what's inside. So, she's big, let's be honest, she's plain, maybe she's got a heart of gold. Well, we've got everything in here that we need straight away. We've got plenty of wood and acres of leather. We've also got loads of buttons that would indicate we've got plenty of kit, and the sexiest sat-nav setup I've ever seen on any production car, I reckon. There's no doubt as well it's got the usual incredibly high standard of fit and finish we'd expect in a Lexus. The only downside is, like a lot of the girls I used to date, oddly enough, the one thing it is lacking is any kind of passion. Once you get the thing rolling, the first thing you notice is the first thing you don't notice. Noise. There isn't any. In fact, if it wasn't for the rather garish rev counter showing a measly few hundred revs, you wouldn't know you were running at all, you might be rolling. Engine and gearbox are actually a great match. It does shift effortlessly and smoothly up and down, but you can kick down as and when you need. It doesn't get in your way, it's unobtrusive, which is what you'd want in a car like this. Under the bonnet is an impressive 4.3-litre V8, and should you be in a rush for the board meeting, the Lexus can catapult you to 60 in around 6 seconds. Good news as well is there's room inside for just about everyone on the board. Top speed, conditions permitting of course, is 155 miles an hour. And thanks to the legendary Lexus reliability, there should be no worry as you pile on those motorway miles. I've discovered something. There is so much adjustment on the driver's seat in here. If you can't get comfortable in this, then I think you belong in a circus. This is great. Its natural habitat, of course, is always going to be the motorway. Big 6-laners quite happily cruise up and down in straight lines all day. Start to challenge it a bit though, even on A roads, I'm not talking country roads, and it gets a bit wallowy. You do feel you're sitting on top of a giant Japanese souffle. It's not that the Lexus is going to fail to do its job. It will always do so and will probably never ever break down in 1,000 years. It's just that when you get out of some of the European ones, there's always the possibility that you'll feel you've had a bit of an experience. The Lexus, it'll have got you there, you'll have been comfortable, it won't have rattled and your feelings won't have fallen out, but it won't have been an experience. It's just a car. Despite its late arrival on the scene, the GS 430 is looking set to cause a bit of a stir amongst its European counterparts. Because not only does it offer very good value for money, it also offers something not really available to drivers of 5 Series and E-Class, and that is a little touch of individuality. Okay, so ultimately it may not be the most desirable or stylish of the bunch, but it is an attractive alternative. Despite all of these good points though, if you were spending £37,000, is this the first car that you would think of spending it on? Nah, me neither.
Next year, there'll be another addition to the Formula One grid, and it's the first time in many years that a brand new team has been created. After a high-profile launch, Toyota's first real test of its new Formula One car ended in the wall at Paul Ricard, but now the car is ready to begin testing again. And this time it has to cover many kilometres in the hands of Alan McNeish if the team wants to bring the test programme back on schedule.
We've run pretty reliably right from the start, and also we're starting to learn about the car. It's reacting to what we change on it, which is very important. It's important that it has sensitivity and gives information to the driver, and then I can give it to the team to make it better. But I'm particularly impressed by the fact that we're able to do kilometres on the circuit. We're not sitting in the garage all the time, we're actually driving on the circuit. And so far I think it's been very good.
At this very circuit in March this year, Toyota's Formula One head honcho Ove Anderson confirmed that he wanted test driver Alan McNeish to join Mika Salo on the grid in Melbourne at the start of the 2002 season.
Mika Salo should give us the experience. I mean, we basically employed him because he can show us the way, and he has experience from very late Formula One, many different teams. And with Alan, we have a very, very good test driver, generally speaking. I mean, his technical feedback and so on. So I think together they make a strong team.
And it wasn't only the team who were happy. McNeish felt that everything was going well and that the long distances the car had covered in what amounts to its first real test outing were significantly optimistic, and that the engine had more to offer than the dependability to win Le Mans.
Not only has the engine been reliable so far, it has also had quite good power and also the revs, and I think that's very difficult when you build a new Formula One engine, to be able to have it reliable, to be able to have it with good power and revs. From a characteristic point of view, I would say it's very smooth. That is the one thing I feel, that whatever revs I'm in, when I put the power, it is very smooth in its progression, and that makes it easier to drive. And I think for a race, it will be an easy engine to drive.
It wasn't just the car that was on trial this week. Remember that the whole team is new as well, and many of them are new to Formula One. Getting them to understand what's needed and how best to achieve it together, that's all part of this year's very full testing program, along with car development.
Well, I have to say, so far I'm quite pleased with the team, because it's the second test session, and it's the second time for us that we exercise that test program in real condition. And I have to say, things are starting to fall into place, and they're starting to work together, and we can feel already the competition spirit getting closer.
Be sure to watch next week's Motor Week, when we've got our very first drive of the stunning new MG ZS. See you then.